Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Dave McEachern, Managing Director from AHEAD. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Steve Winawer, Head of Digital and Data Technology USBU at Takeda Pharmaceutical Company. Steve, thanks for joining me. How would you approach other orgs as they're beginning these journeys? And when I'm saying that, I mean it from an organizational structure perspective.
Mhm.
How did Takeda handle that, and how you built your org to handle these processes? Because I can imagine you needed to have some kind of decision-making process with a team, and it needed to have leaders that would weigh in and have that structure in place to have the go forward plans from a business, compliance, data quality, all those organizational structures in place from how you'd be able to do things. How did you guys go about approaching that, and how would you give guidance on structuring an organization to handle things?
So I'm going to start with something you put in, which is a major part of Takeda's culture, which is our decision framework, which we're very proud of it, and it really shows up every day. It is patient, trust, reputation, business in that order. And so as we work through any of the decisions we're making, we are guided by that framework. Now, to the point of the organizational design, the investment, when we look at the flow from I've got to get the data, I've got to get happy and be able to manage it, then I want to build various applications to go after it. We looked at what kind of capacity and services are we going to need in each of those layers, including the governance underneath. So as we started to do more with AI, we quickly recognized that a gap or a weakness we had was in a governance component. We then found some technology partner, but we also made an investment in people to be able to have governance run at the speed of the innovation and productivity we wanted to hit. So we could make those decisions the right way. Also ramping up and driving a clarity around our architecture governance model to say, let's not have 27 different LLMs or different texts flying up all over there. That architecture council beefing that up a bit. And then the way you'd expect, I made some additional investment in the onboarding. I've got a little experiment going now with I want to build a agentic data onboarding agent. I'm really excited about it so that I can get that more capacity without continuing to expand the team. But it's looking at each place and just thinking about what's that got to do? Do I have the skills and capacity to do it? And then honestly, through that governance, sometimes you throttle it back and you say, look, I can't quite process as much as we want to in the way we want to do it. Let's just slow down or prioritize. So nothing revolutionary in doing it, but it was a very intentional, mindful focus at the pieces all together.
That's great. That's great. And obviously, this isn't our first discussion, and I find it interesting. There's the quote that you have internally with freedom within the framework. Can you expand upon that a little bit for the folks that are out there listening to this, and tell them what that means for you folks at Takeda?
Thank you. So right away, I'm going to give credit to that one. Our enterprise architect, Brian Hoffman, owns that one. But what it means is as we go through our architecture councils is we look and say, we provide a framework of technologies and solution patterns. And so then as each of the business and functions want to build up solutions within that framework, we then have the freedom. I can say, I've got a certain LLM tech stack or integration approach. I can bring on and scale up development to do that. But if I said, hey, you know what? I would like to use whatever, I'm bringing that through our council, say, wait, but this isn't in the framework. Should we expand it? Should we add it? And that's how it comes to life, that notion of the freedom within a framework in all the pieces. Some parts of the framework are a little tighter, others are a little looser, depending what you're doing, but that's really how it comes to life.
That's great. And I know that the whole approach within Takeda, this has become just it's just normal operating procedure, and with that, there's a ton of scale that you have to deal with. So with that, how are you navigating that tremendous demand internally, versus capacity constraints? With how do you go about doing that on a daily basis, and building for the future? Because I'm guessing you just don't have unlimited budget, or is there the luxury of unlimited budget?
So I don't think any of us would be talking about unlimited budget. This is not,
Yeah.
but I would say, so put it in very practical and realistic terms. I think that, um, first of all, the scale comes from having the business case or the business problem driving the need. We very, in general, practice pretty hard that we don't try to have solutions in search of a problem. The other thing is, from the enterprise level, Takeda has stated we intend to be a digital biopharmaceutical company with AI at the core. And therefore, we that notion of where are we going to invest for outcome allows us to shift and prioritize resources to hit what's right. Also, our structure, where our data digital technology teams like me are embedded in the businesses and functions, but then empowered by strong central teams like our EDA enterprise data team, they are meeting and prioritizing. So we sit at those teams together. So, and we say, okay, so what are we doing at the center? What does everybody need? And we core prioritize together. And then we in the business and function say, okay, this is how I'm going to use that. This is where I'm going to go. And so that's another form of the framework that allows us to invest and shift where it's important, but and then understand and find the commonalities through some really strong central governance that helps us find those connections without feeling like you're handcuffed to everybody moving at the same time.
That makes perfect sense. You always tend to make it sound so simple.
I would say that I've emphasized a couple of times what has made this simple or sound simple. Everything I'm telling you, our senior business leaders will tell you the same, right? The head of the US business unit can tell you what is the data and technology governance process. They're part of it. They understand it, they're part of it, and they are giving us the true definition of sponsorship because they understand where the company's priority, what this is a priority, and therefore we can get it done because it's how we're going to work.
It's great. Well, do you have any thoughts on what's the next big wave of the future specific to AI?
Well, I think I got through all of that time with only saying Agentic once. So that is what is now. Okay. Had a funny conversation with some of our leaders recently where we were talking about moving into Agentic, and one or two of them said, well, wait a minute. I'm just getting the heck of this Copilot thing and Gen AI. What do you mean? Hey, I got to learn something new. That's really where we're going next. We've already deployed, a good number of agents internally. We're seeing how we can make them work. Again, under that premise, human in the loop, looking to see how do we have colleagues who have agents as part of their team, and finding the right opportunities for those to learn and build up that skill set. That's really what's now that's coming a lot more. But I would say that there's still a lot of opportunity in the recent generation. I think especially for pharma companies, things like synthetic data, synthetic marketing personas, all of that, I think that's still got a ways to come. And so I think that space has still got not agentic, but it's still got the opportunity to pop a lot.
That's great. Well, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, Steve. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining me today. And
My pleasure.
we'll wrap things up. Thank you all. For more interviews and insights, please visit cdomagazine.tech.